She was 19 years old, running on a college track in Texas, and she just became one of the 9 fastest women in human history. No one saw it coming. And what happened next? The fall, the grief, the humiliation, and the comeback is one of the most extraordinary stories in the history of sport. Sha'Carri Richardson did not grow up in a stable home. Her biological mother was mostly absent from her life from the very beginning. Her grandmother, Betty Harp, stepped in and raised her. That kind of instability does something to a child. It hollows out the parts of you that are supposed to feel safe. And for Richardson, those early years created confidence problems that ran deep, deeper than most people around her ever knew. As a junior in high school, she reached a point so dark that she thought about ending her life. What pulled her back was her aunt, Sha'Carri Richardson, who showed up with the kind of love and consistency that a young girl in crisis desperately needs. That moment matters because everything that comes after, every record, every title, every comeback, only exists because she stayed. She found speed, not the kind of speed that gets coached into you, the raw, street-level kind. She raced boys in her neighborhood and left them behind. By 16, she was competing nationally. At the AAU Junior Olympics, she crossed the 100-meter finish line in 11.50 seconds, and nobody in that field came close. She was fast in a way that felt different, in a way that made coaches look at each other and raise their eyebrows. Then she walked into Louisiana State University as a freshman, and within months, rewrote an entire chapter of American track history. The 2019 NCAA Championships in Austin, Texas. Richardson lines up for the 100 meters. She is 19 years old. She is competing against college athletes who have been training for years. What she does next leaves everyone in the stadium stunned. She crosses the line in 10.75 seconds. 10.75. That is the fastest time ever run by a college athlete in the 100 meters. It is a world under 20 record. It places her alongside the 9 fastest women ever at that distance in the entire history of the event. But here is the part that is almost impossible to believe. Later that same afternoon, she comes back out, runs the 200 meters, and sets another world under 20 record in 22.17 seconds. 2 historic performances. One day, one 19-year-old from Dallas who grew up racing boys in her neighborhood. She turned professional immediately. Nike signed her. The world started paying very close attention. And for a moment, everything looked like it was on a perfect trajectory toward something legendary. Then 2021 arrived, and it nearly took everything away. Before any of that, you need to understand who Betty Harp is to this story. Because she is not just a grandmother who showed up to watch races. She was there for every single one. Every stadium. Every meet. Every moment that mattered. Richardson did not run for fans. She did not run for sponsorships. In every interview, every post-race moment, every time a camera found her face, it was clear she was running for one person. At the 2021 U.S. Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon, Richardson ran 10.86 seconds and booked her ticket to the Tokyo Olympics. The crowd at Hayward Field erupted. Richardson did not stop at the finish line. She sprinted directly into the stands and found Betty Harp. That embrace, captured on camera and shared across every platform on Earth, told the complete story of her life up to that moment. Every hard year, every dark night, every moment she thought about giving up, all of it led to this. She was going to the Olympics. What the crowd did not know, what almost nobody knew, was that Richardson had just learned, through a reporter asking her for comment before the race, that her biological mother had died days earlier. She found out from a stranger with a microphone. She carried that grief down the track. She turned it into the most important qualifying run of her life. And she did not tell anyone until after. That detail alone tells you who Sha'Carri Richardson is at her core. She ran the race anyway. She qualified. She found her grandmother. And then the world fell apart. On July 1st, 2021, Richardson tested positive for THC, the active compound in marijuana. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency issued a 1-month suspension. Her 100-meter qualifying result was erased from the record books. She would not run the individual 100 meters at the Tokyo Olympics. Just like that. She did not disappear. She sat in front of cameras and she explained, clearly and without excuses, that she had used marijuana to cope with the sudden death of her biological mother in a state where marijuana was legal at the time. Nike released a public statement of support. Politicians called the ban outdated and disconnected from reality. The public response was enormous. None of it changed the ruling. When she returned to racing in August 2021 at the Prefontaine Classic, she finished last. The time was 11.14 seconds. This is the same woman who ran 10.75 as a college freshman. Last place, 11.14 seconds. 2 months after being one of the most talked about athletes on earth, she crossed a finish line dead last while the entire track world watched. At the 2022 USATF Championships, she failed to make the final in the 100 meters. She failed to make the final in the 200 meters. No world championships. No national title. The critics, who had already been sharpening their opinions since the suspension, now felt completely justified. The narrative hardened fast. She was a cautionary tale, a talent that burned too bright and collapsed too soon. People who had never run a competitive race in their lives typed their certainty into comment sections and called it analysis. But here is the thing about real competitors. They do not read comment sections. They get back to work. The rebuild happened quietly. Sports psychologists, technical adjustments, detailed race pattern work with Coach Dennis Mitchell. And through all of it, Betty Harp still in her corner. Not for cameras, not for content. Just there, the way she had always been there. The way she had been there since Richardson was a child who needed someone to stay. And in 2023, everything the critics had written off came back louder than they ever expected. World Championships. Budapest. Sha'Carri Richardson is placed in lane 9. Let that sit for a moment. Lane 9 is the outermost lane. The lane furthest from every other competitor. The lane where you cannot see anyone else, cannot gauge anyone else, cannot use anyone else as a reference point. In the entire recorded history of the 100-meter event at the World Championships, no man and no woman had ever qualified on time from a semifinal and then won the gold medal in the final. It had simply never been done. Richardson did it. She crossed the line in 10.65 seconds. A championship record. She was the fastest woman in the world again. For years. From that finish line in Oregon to this one in Hungary. From last place at Prefontaine to world champion in Budapest. From being written off by every analyst with a platform to standing in the center of a stadium with a gold medal and a world record around her neck. The path from the bottom back to the top did not happen in a straight line. It happened through the kind of work that most people never see and almost none are willing to do. But someone else had been watching. Someone else had been training. And she was not going to stay quiet about what she planned to do next. Melissa Jefferson Wooden had been building something of her own, quietly, and without the kind of headline drama that surrounded Richardson's career. And at the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo, she walked onto the biggest stage in the sport and made the most direct statement possible. She ran 10.61 seconds to win the 100 meters. That single run broke Richardson's championship record. The same record Richardson had fought back from the lowest point of her career to set in Budapest. Jefferson Wooden looked at the clock, turned to the cameras, and said exactly what she meant. It was Carrie's. It's mine now. She did not stop there. Over the course of those championships, Jefferson Wooden won the 100 meters, the 200 meters, and the 4x100 relay. Only one woman in the entire history of the event had ever accomplished that at a single championship. Her 10.61 made her the fourth fastest woman ever at 100 meters. Richardson finished fifth in the individual event at those same championships. The record she had bled for was gone. The title she had reclaimed through years of rebuilding had been taken. And the woman who took it had done so in the most emphatic way imaginable. This is the nature of elite sport. There is no moment where you arrive and stay. There is only the next race and whoever is running it beside you. Now shift your attention to someone you may not know as well. Someone whose story is completely different, who came from a completely different direction, and whose decision in 2025 changed the conversation around American track and field in a way that almost nobody predicted. Abby Steiner was not supposed to be a sprinter. She grew up in Dublin, Ohio, playing soccer, not chasing records on a track. Soccer. She did not start running competitively until 8th grade. No lineage of sprinting greatness, no famous coach pointing her in the right direction, no track club where champions were developed from childhood. Just a girl from Ohio who happened to be extraordinarily fast and did not fully know what to do with it yet. When she got to Dublin Kaufman High School, the scale of what she was capable of started to become clear. She won 14 individual state titles. She set 4 Ohio State records. The performances were exceptional by any standard. But at the national level, she was not yet a superstar. She was very good, quietly and consistently good, but she was not the athlete that recruiters and media were building mythologies around. She signed with the University of Kentucky to play both soccer and track. That dual-sport arrangement lasted 1 season. After starting all 19 games of her freshman soccer season at Kentucky, Steiner made a decision that would change the course of her athletic life. She dropped soccer entirely and committed fully to sprinting. That single choice, made by a college freshman who understood what she was giving up, unlocked something that nobody had fully seen coming. What followed in 2022 is almost too compressed to process. At the NCAA Indoor Championships, she ran 22.09 seconds in the 200 meters, a new American indoor record. Then outdoors, she ran 21.80 seconds at the NCAA Championships, another collegiate record, one of the fastest times ever recorded by an American woman on any track anywhere in the world. She was competitive at a level that placed her alongside athletes who had been running professionally for years. And then consider this. In that same year, Abby Steiner ran 57 races. 57. That number will become important again shortly. But in the context of that season, it was a sign of a collegiate system extracting every possible performance point from a young body that was still developing, still adapting, still becoming whatever it was going to become. She ran 57 races in a single year, and she ran them at a pace that made her a national champion. At the U.S. Championships, she ran 21.77 seconds. National champion. That time placed her into a group so small it is almost uncomfortable to list. Florence Griffith Joyner ran faster. Gwen Torrance ran faster. Almost nobody else did. Abby Steiner, the girl from Ohio who started track in 8th grade, was now running times that belong on the same list as the fastest American women who ever lived. Puma signed her. Reports put the deal at over $2 million. Olympic sponsors made contact. Media framed her as the next face of American sprinting. At the 2022 World Championships in Eugene, she finished 5th in the individual 200 meters. Not a medal, but a performance that signaled clearly she belonged at the highest level. Then she ran the second leg of the 4x100 relay and clocked a 9.86 split, the fastest second leg in the entire race. Team USA won gold. 2 days later, she ran the 4x400 relay. Gold again. At 22 years old, Abby Steiner had 2 world gold medals. The world had officially been put on notice. Then her body told her it was done with the pace she had been setting. In August 2023, Steiner had surgery on her left foot. Haglund's deformity, a bone spur pressing directly against her Achilles tendon. For a sprinter, the Achilles is not just a tendon. It is the mechanism that converts every ounce of power generated in the leg into explosive forward motion. It is the spring. When that spring is compromised, everything built on top of it is compromised. 1 month after the first surgery, she had the same procedure on her right foot. 2 surgeries, back-to-back, on both feet. She came back anyway. At the 2024 U.S. Olympic trials, Steiner lined up desperate to make the team for Paris. In the semifinals, she ran 22.30 seconds, her best time of the year, a time that in virtually any other Olympic cycle in recent memory would have secured her a spot. In the final, the damage from 2 surgeries and the reality of incomplete training showed up exactly when she could not afford it to. She faded in the final 50 meters. She finished 6th. The third-place finisher ran 21.91 seconds. That was the fastest time ever required to make a U.S. Olympic team in this event. Steiner's 22.30 would have made the Olympic team in every cycle since the year 2000. Just not this one. The post-race interview was one of the most raw moments of that entire trials. She cried. She told the cameras that she had been running through serious pain in both feet throughout the season, that she needed another surgery. A third surgery. She had run an Olympic trials final on feet that were not healthy enough to carry her to Paris, and she had done it anyway, because that is the kind of athlete she is. Then she went under the knife again. Recovery began. Again. Here is where this story takes a turn that almost nobody expected, and that says more about Abby Steiner as a person than any race time ever could. While recovering from her third foot surgery, she studied for and passed the NSCA CSCS exam. That stands for National Strength and Conditioning Association Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. This is not a quick online certificate. Coaches and athletic trainers spend months preparing for this exam. It demands genuine command of exercise science, biomechanics, and the science of athletic performance. It is the kind of credential that takes serious intellectual work to earn. Abby Steiner earned it while she was on the injury table recovering from her third surgery in 2 years. Then she applied to the University of South Carolina's Master of Science program in exercise science. She was accepted. On August 20th, 2025, she posted on Instagram. Not a comeback announcement. Not a return date. Something different. She wrote that 2025 had so far included a third surgery on her left foot, passing the NSCA CSCS exam, and acceptance into the South Carolina graduate program. She said she was taking a step back from running for the time being to give herself the space to get healthy while pursuing other passions. 3 words that the entire track community locked onto immediately. For the time being. Not goodbye. Not retirement. Not closing the door. For the time being. The women's 200 meters in the United States was supposed to belong to 3 athletes. Gabby Thomas, Sha'Carri Richardson, and Abby Steiner. Coach Rob, one of the most respected track analysts working today, said it plainly. A healthy Abby Steiner in the 200 meters is a guaranteed Team USA spot. Not a maybe. A certainty. Her personal best of 21.77 does not have an expiration date on it. That time still places her inside the top 5 American women ever at that distance. But step back for a moment and look at what that 57-race season in 2022 actually cost her. This is not just a data point about how hard she worked. It is an indictment of a collegiate system that is structured to extract maximum performance from young athletes without full consideration of the long-term consequences on their bodies. 3 surgeries in 2 years did not happen because Abby Steiner has bad genes or bad luck. They happened because a system that rewards volume, that gives schools points for every race run, pushed a developing body past the point it could sustain. She was not finished developing physically. She was still becoming who she was going to be as an athlete, and the machine kept asking for more. There is precedent for what happens next. Trayvon Bromell missed nearly 2 full seasons with serious injuries. He came back and ran fast enough to almost make an Olympic team. The comeback is not just possible. It has been done before under similar circumstances. And Steiner is 25 years old. The clock on elite sprinting has not run out for her. What she did instead of forcing a premature return, the certification, the graduate program, the deliberate healing, says something that every race time ever run cannot say. She knows who she is beyond the starting blocks. She was building something larger than a career in athletics while she was still inside that career. She had already been accepted to Kentucky's physical therapy program before she went professional, choosing to defer it. Now, with more life experience and a clearer understanding of what she wants, she is in a master's program at South Carolina, credentialed as a strength and conditioning specialist, and healing at the pace her body actually requires rather than the pace that a competitive calendar demands. So what does this all mean sitting together? Sha'Carri Richardson, who survived a childhood that should have broken her, who lost her mother days before the biggest race of her life, who fell to last place in front of the entire world, who came back and won everything, and who now faces the reality of a new champion occupying the ground she bled to claim. Melissa Jefferson Wooden, who took that championship record and that title without apology and with full clarity about what she was doing. Abby Steiner, who had the talent to belong to all of this and who may yet return to reclaim her place in it, but who has chosen to heal on her own terms and build something that survives beyond any single finish line. The fastest women in American track right now are not just competing with each other on the track. They are each navigating something much harder. What it means to be an elite athlete in a system that does not always protect you. What it costs to come back from the kinds of losses that are not just physical. What it takes to stay when staying is the harder choice, and what it takes to step back when stepping back is the braver one. Sha'Carri Richardson started the 2026 season in rural Australia at a 144-year-old grass race, running uphill, fighting bad wind, overcoming a 9-meter head start, crossing the line in 13.15 seconds. 2 weeks later, she ran a time faster than the one that won Team USA Olympic gold in Paris. The field never had a chance. She is still here. She is still running. And if you spent any part of the last 5 years writing her off, she has been leaving you behind with every single step.